Hi, and welcome to episode 118 of the Heartland Knits podcast. My name is Vicki, but you can find me as Heartland Knits on Ravelry and Instagram and Periscope. And today is Sunday, September 27th, 2015. Before anybody wonders, I am wearing a shawl that I did not knit. This was knit for me 2 years ago by my friend Angela, and she sent it to me. That was right after my mom passed away, and anyway, so I thought I'll just show it off. I know it's a rosemary hill pattern, but I'm not sure exactly which design it is. But I just love it. I love the color, and it's just kind of the right size, and wearing this navy blue dress, it just needed a little spark of pretty color. So there's that. But I have a lot of stuff to show you that I have knit myself, and I'm going to start out with what's on my needles. And I'm going to show you a few more things of what I started in August with the big group that I started casting on. And I usually like to have a Bohus on the needles. And so it was right after knitting camp, and I was thinking, what Bohus do I want to do for this year? I like to do they're always top down, or at least the kits that I have are top down. And I like to get sort of the color work of the collar done kind of in the summer before it gets, so I can sit outside on the porch. And because a lot of times the colors are so close together that actually it's hard to distinguish between them when I'm inside. So all the kits that I have, they're Bohus reproduction kits from Sweden. I have 4 kits left. And so I took them all out and was trying to decide which ones I wanted to work on next. And I got it down to 2, and I couldn't decide between them. So I cast them both on. So the first one I started was Forest Darkness. And this is by Annika Malmström Ledini. And it was designed in 1953. So it is really beautiful. I love it. It was so fun to knit. And so this is it. It's not coming up the right colors at all. And this on the top, this pink, is like I always do, and I always tell you, this is my provisional cast on. I like to start with a little bit of fabric underneath my needle when I start to strand. I'm going to see if it's still prettier than that. So this is this design, Forest Darkness. I have never made one with a black body, so that's why this one was big in the running. And I'm not going to lie, this one, wanting to knit this one, had a lot to do with, there's a pair of fluvogs that like practically match it. So I thought, if I make the sweater, I can buy the shoes. So anyway, it was really pretty. The teal in it is much prettier, like turquoisey teal, and then this green really like pops out. It is a more sort of geometric kind of design than a lot of them are. And this one is also unusual in that it comes with, you can have 2 background colors. You can have the black, or you can have sort of a dark green. And I chose the black just because I think it sets off the colors as they actually appear, not as they're looking on the computer screen. So anyway, it was really fun doing the collar. And then I got to the black. And so this is, if you've not been with me through the previous Bohus designs, this is a merino angora yarn, it's a lace weight yarn. And so the gauge on this is 9¼ stitches to the inch. I do these on, I do a size 2, 2.75 millimeter for the collar, and then a size 1, 2.25 millimeter for the body. And as I got to the body, I wanted to get the collar done before it got cold and I could sit out on the porch. But then as I got, on the body and I started doing these increases, I realized, I'm doing that other sweater in the dark yarn, and that's a heathered yarn, and it's, hard to see, but whatever. This is like really hard to see. I mean, because I had to do, and this is a much smaller gauge. So by the time I was doing these increases for the raglan, it was, it was hard for me to even read my knitting because, even out in daylight, because this yarn is just black. It's very kind of matte. And so anyway, this is as far I got to this point. So last week we had a really nice, beautiful, kind of summery feeling weather. And so I pushed because I wanted to get to the underarm. So this is now on as just a string, and it would be ready to join at the underarm. So anyway, I pushed through the week and got the raglan done down to the underarm. And, I put it on a string to hold it. And I'll be honest with you, this one might just be put away. Like bringing it and looking at it in here. This corner is kind of dark, but I usually sit under a chair with like a bright lamp. It's still really hard. I had the needles I was using were Addie lace needles, which are the gold ones. So they're like shiny gold. So it's a good contrast with this black. And it was still hard for me to see it. So this, even though I really like it and I think it's really pretty, it might just be put away because I just don't see the point in struggling to work through, something that is, if I'm going to take something, and I know I'm going to put it away, I will put it on string or, a scrap yarn, because, even with a cable, they have the kind of interchangeables that you can put the thing, a little piece on the cable. I think it leaves a mark unless you're going to take that round off and then start with new yarn. I think it leaves, I'm really old school in that I always put my things on scrap yarn so that it does not leave a mark where I've left off. So this might be the like one time that you see Forest Darkness. I'm not at all sure that I'm going to continue with it, even though it's really pretty and I love it. There, that's a better look of the colors. It's just, I don't know if it's worth the struggle to see the dark color. So that was Bohus number 1. Bohus number 2. And so I was kind of glad that I started both of them at the same time, because if I had just started Forest Darkness, and I had gotten through that, I probably would just keep struggle along, and it would just, I don't know. Knitting's supposed to be fun, right? I don't think it's a character flaw to have works in progress that maybe you're not working on. If I died tomorrow and I had all these 20 some projects on the needles, I don't think that, he would you're going to hell because you have all those unfinished knitting projects that you didn't do. Might head that direction for other reasons, but not for knitting projects. So my second one is the same but different. So this was the second runner up. So and this one is Blue Flower, and it was designed by Kirsten Olsen in 1963. It says, and this one is less far along, and this one I also pushed on this week because I wanted to get through the collar and all the color work. So this one's still on the needles. So this is Blue Flower. So it's also got the sort of teal themed. They're both in the same like color line. And there are flu bugs that would look really good with this one too. But again, the pink is just for, for the top. So this one, I don't know if you can sort of see the colors. I pushed on this one to get the color work done because these colors right in here, as well as, they're matching what's on the top of there, are really close. They're really close. So I wanted to work through that. And this one, the colors aren't coming up quite as pretty as they are in person. They're blues and teals, and this one might be right up there for my favorite Bohus ever. It's so pretty. And so I am doing this as a pullover, this one, because, so when I ordered all the kits, I was trying to kind of make sure that they all looked different. And so I was trying to not duplicate kind of body colors of the sweaters. And so when I got this one, so the first two that I bought, I bought Blue Shimmer and my rose lace, and I knit the rose lace right off. And so I still have Blue Shimmer to go to knit. And then later on, I don't think they added Blue Flower in, but I bought Blue Flower. And I asked Solveig because traditionally this one has the same sort of pale, kind of silvery blue back or body color that Blue Shimmer has. And I already had Blue Shimmer. So I wanted to get a different body color. And so I asked her if she thought it would look okay with white for the body. And she said, yeah, she thought it would be fine because she had actually knit Blue Shimmer with a white body. So right then I thought, well, I'll order it with the white body, and then whichever one, I can switch out, one for the other, and knit this one with the blue or knit it with the white, or the same for Blue Shimmer. So I decided to do keep the blue with Blue Shimmer because that is such an iconic Bohus design. And then at some point later, was one of the later ones that I bought was the egg, which is the one I did last year, that has the yellow and then it has the white body. So because I had the white and that one I made a cardigan. So since I had a white Bohus cardigan, I'm knitting this one as a pullover. It's a long explanation. So anyway, this one will definitely be continued on. I'm not worried about doing, any of the rest of it. It's white. I can see it just fine. I'm using, same kind of needle sizes and such. This one was a really fun design. It does not look sort of as complicated as it was to a knit, but all this area in the middle were all 3-color rows, and not just 3 colors that you had to manage, but they were 3 colors that were all knitting and purling. So there was a lot of color management going on, and that is sort of one of the big differences in the color work for the Bohus as opposed to, this sort of, like I showed you Rona last week, kind of regular, stranded, Fair Isle stranding, is that always just has 2 colors in it, where these can have, I think there's some that have 5 colors in them. Wild Apple had 4. so that you're working with more than 2 colors in a round. And also then you're doing knits and pearls. And I think you can see the little pearl blips. And that's what really, the little pearls are what kind of elevate the bohus and make, you know, even though there's, I mean, there's a fair number. This one has what? 2, 4, 6, 8 colors in it. But because when you do a pearl, it kind of, you get that little color blip. It kind of brings that color from the row below up. You get a lot more, it looks a lot more complicated. And it elevates it to like something else. And plus it's the merino angora, and it, as you wear them, the angora like blooms and it gets just this really pretty halo. So yes, this will be definitely the bohus that I continue working on. Maybe I'll keep working on Forest Darkness. I don't know, we'll see. That one might just be put away for a while, like till next summer or something, or I don't know. And then I wanted to show you just a quick update on the other sweater that I showed you that I was working on, and this is the Garland yoke sweater, Garland necklace yoke sweater by Meg Swanson. And I showed you the body one week, and I showed you I was working on the sleeve. So now I have a whole body and I have 2 sleeves. So I am at the point where I can, put it together and get to the really fun part, doing the color work at the yoke. So there was method in my madness. So I, did have the fun color work of the bohus, which are top down, and then this one is bottom up. So as I was doing, had the fun stuff on those, I was doing the kind of more boring stuff, stockinette body of this one. And so now I get the fun part of this one. This will get done way faster than the bohus will get done. But so I'm looking forward to it. And so the yarn that I'm going to use, so this is my, it's like a heathery, where, I mean, it looks just dark when I hold it back, but it's kind of a charcoal, like heathery color. And so the stranding is going to be with this, which is kind of a rose heather. And I took this out because I might add just a touch. Oh, I just made a mess of what was left of my skein down there. I might add just a teensy little bit of white because I think they look really pretty together. Like maybe just, 3 rows in the middle or something. I don't know. I'll have to play with it and see. And so anyway, I blocked both the sleeves again to make sure I had the length right. And so today, this afternoon, I will put them all on the same needle and start moving forward. So I am looking forward to having that to wear fairly soon. So off the needles, I have something off the needles again. I'm can't believe it. Oops, something fell off the desk too. So I finished my sheep mittens. And these are the sheep mittens designed by Jora Lindbeck. So they have the ram. So if I have one on each hand, and I'm looking down at them, that's what they look like. But then when you reverse it, so this one has the ram's head, and then his body is on the back. And so this one has the body on the front and the ewe's head on the back. So if you if I turn over and look at my hands, they're going to look like that. I have to switch over my hands. But that's just, I would rather have it kind of on the palm side of my hand than have to switch over the back of my hands. So for this, I used hand spun. They're all completed and everything. I am going to do the sort of shock like fulling like treatment, go from hot to cold a couple of times, like I did the Solveig Larsen book tells you to do. And I did that with the other handspun mittens. But I just think they're like so cute. They were really, whoops, really fun to knit. And they also like show like a good lesson, like right down in here where you see that it, like down here, it's like the white is popping out, and then up here, it's you can see more of the green. See if the other one does it a little bit more, though they're both about the same. But what that is it's a little lesson in color dominance in your stranded knitting. So what that means is, and apologies if you're like we know about it, but it's a good little thing to test yourself on every now and then, because so color dominance is if you're say knitting with one color in each hand, the rule of thumb is that like one color will like pop out and be more dominant than the other color, and the rule of thumb is that the color in your left hand will, because it's underneath. So you're going along and stranding, so this one you're the color is always underneath, and this when you're always wrapping around, this color is always on the top. And this is why they tell you to not switch kind of in the middle of a project, because then you get this sort of thing going on. So this one at the bottom, the first like 7 rows, you held the white was on the bottom and the green was on the top, and then you switched it on these top rows so that the green was on the bottom and the white was on the top. You can even tell it in the inside. You can see one is much more predominant than the other. So so rule of thumb says, and some patterns actually tell you which one. So you want like the pattern color, if you're doing an like an all over thing, you want the pattern color to like generally to pop out, and you see that more than the background color. You don't want your pattern to sort of recede into the background. So rule of thumb is rule of thumb. It might not apply to you. When I first started out doing stranded knitting, I did them one in each hand, and I am generally a continental knitter. I knit on tension continental, and so when it was new to me to use to throw with my right hand, and I don't know what it was. Maybe I was just trying to overcompensating. I didn't want it to be too tight, but for whatever reason, when I first started out, the yarn that was held in my right hand, the top color, was the predominant color. So now I knit with them always in my left hand. And that's what the first time I went to knitting camp was, I think, 2002. And that's the thing that I like learned, and to hold them both in my left hand, I had a more consistent, even tension. And when I did that, the color dominance switched on me. So I have this wacky hat. It used to be on, it was a pink and white hat that used to sit on my little Swift. But that was the hat I knit at camp that year. And so I was like trying this new technique, and so I would be knitting on with them both in my left hand, and then I'd get tired of that and I'd switch over, and so it goes back and forth. It's kind of wacky to look at, but that is like one of the things. So even though like rule of thumb says one thing, how you do it might be another way. And it doesn't hurt to do this like every now and then, to just do a little piece. It doesn't even have to be quite this, that would fit around your wrist. You could do like, a couple like 20 stitches or something to do it in the round, and just test yourself and see, if you've switched from, if you were a new, like strander, and it might switch. So it's just something to keep in mind. So anyway, finished project. I talked for longer than I was expecting to, waxing poetic on the Bohus. As far as show and tell is, I did have a really great. I met up with a dear friend this week who has moved away from town. She was there with me on some of the worst days. She was there with probably the worst day of my whole life, which was my first day of chemo. Um, and so she came back. She lives in Colorado now, and so she came back. Her one son lives in Madison and had a baby, but then she came up here to visit friends, and we went out for lunch, and it was so wonderful. And I, got to say thank you to her in person just for being there on that most awful of days. If you're new to the podcast, I am an ovarian cancer survivor. 4 years ago, I had ovarian. I was going through treatment, and that first day was bad. It was a bad day, but I don't. It's funny. I was thinking about it. I put it on my profiles like Instagram and whatever. Knitter, spinner, ovarian cancer survivor. Not so much that it defines me as a person, but more so that, especially with ovarian cancer, a lot of people think, oh, so and so has, oh, they sort of like write you off like right away. Um, and where that is the case, maybe a lot of times it doesn't necessarily have to be the case. So I put that on there just in case, someone, a mother, sister, friend, whatever, that you can say, oh, there's this person that I know, and you know me. But I haven't talked about it, but September is Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. I haven't really talked about it this year, but it's always a kind of a tough time, just thinking about it, and I always have the statistics kind of in the back of my mind, that I can tell you, but because it is a more statistically percentage wise, than some other cancers. It's more deadly, but that doesn't mean that everybody does. I know a couple people who are much longer survivors than I am, and they're my heroes. So I wanted to just take a little bit. It's called the silent cancer because there isn't a test like colonoscopy or breast MRI or mammogram that can give you an early warning. And really, that's why the statistics are so much better for breast cancer, is that there is that kind of early warning, test that you can have that will alert you to the fact when it's at an early stage, where with ovarian cancer, it's generally found at a later stage. So, but we're trying to say it's not the silent cancer, but maybe the whispering cancer, because there are symptoms. They're very subtle, and they can, always like, be something else. So I'm going to put a thing with the symptoms, so that you can see what they are, and that if you have any of these, for like 2 weeks or longer, that maybe it's you should investigate it and just and see. Um, or if you're going out for lunch with your mother or something and she says, I don't know, I take 2 bites and I get full right away. Well, that can be like a sign. And many times, if women take the symptoms to their doctor, they're sort of, patted on the hand and said, oh, it's nothing. But if you have breast or ovarian cancer, like in your family history, that you should be especially, watchful, because those two can often go hand in hand. They have, genetic factors that, my sisters had breast cancer, but I had ovarian. So, I never knew sort of the link. We don't carry the sort of known gene. They're working to find like different genes that, because the ones that they know, we don't have. But that's my little soapbox for today. So anyway, I want to thank all of you for watching. And just to let you know, the podcast can be found on iTunes. It can also be found on YouTube, and the channel is Heartland Knits, 2 words, Heartland space Knits. And then we have a Ravelry group. It's called Friends of Heartland Knits. So come over there and join us. And I guess that's it. My name is Vicki. Thank you so much for joining me. And until I see you next week, from my heart to yours, happy knitting.